I'm Greg Healey, and this is all right. Well, welcome to Mindset Central. My name is Greg Healey. I'm your host, and we have a very special guest with us today, Marc Edwards, who is a real estate entrepreneur in his own right, and is actually we were talking. He is on the space of killing the game. That's what he said. So I can't wait to get him up here so he can talk to you about what's going on in his life. But just to kind of give you some kind of back data, Marc is a registered nurse. Well, he was a nurse in the healthcare field for over 15 years, and he's transitioned to real estate, both as a licensed agent working for a brokerage and working toward his brokerage license himself, and also a successful investor working for himself. So if you're curious about what it takes to become an entrepreneur and be successful and you're going to want to stay tuned as we talk about some of the stuff. And today we're also going to talk about some things that you as a consumer might be interested in learning about how to buy a house in 2022. You're going to want to stay tuned. So let's bring Marc in. Marc, you with us?
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Yes,
what's going
sir.
on, man?
Hey, how we doing? How we doing?
Doing great. How's it going for you? How's the weather up there in KC?
As you know, man, we're in the Midwest, so it's cold. It's cold. Probably about 50 today. Probably about 45, 50, a little windy. So, but
45.
no snow on the ground, so I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, not yet, right? Hold your breath.
Right, right. Because it's coming. I know it's coming.
Man, I know it. It's been really mild here in Houston. So I appreciate. I mean, it's a little windy today and overcast, but for the most part, it's been in the 70s and 80s. So that was the reason why I moved down here because I'm getting old and my bones are not wanting to cooperate much anymore. So that's where we're at. Well, you and
I
I
can
have had some
relate.
conversations over the last, I don't know, months, year about your story. And, I've got a ton of questions as it relates to your experience. But before we jump into those, I really want to try to get everybody on the same page. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment and just, start with the journey to become a nurse and all of that kind of thing, and then on into your real estate career, how you pivoted, that kind of thing. And just talk to us about your mindset and your experience as it relates to those things moving into today. Could you do that for us?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. First off, though, thanks for having me on here. Like I said, it's a pleasure, especially for this first episode. I know it's going to be awesome, and you're going to probably have about 150, 300,000 of them. So, but no,
Well,
I appreciate you having me on here. First
I
off,
claim it right now.
you got to claim it. You got to put it out there, like they say. You got to put it in the air, man.
That's
Speak
it.
into
That's it.
existence. So no, I've like I said, I've been in healthcare for a while. What brought me to it, honestly, I say kind of God put it on me. I did not wake up and say one day I wanted to be a nurse. I started out taking care of people with mental disabilities. Did that for a little while, and the next thing you know, it just snowballed into me getting my nursing license and my degree, and just hey, doing that. Jumped into long term care. I did the hospital thing as well, and being in that female dominated field, it can be a little stressful and a little different at times. But so you definitely do have to have the right mindset for sure, which is just helping people. If you're going into it with the wrong mindset, you're going to have some problems. You're going to have some struggles because, being a nurse, you have some stressful days, make you want to quit. As you see, I have no hair now. It can be stressful. But no, I really did a lot. I really did enjoy it. My time working in the hospital and taking care of all my patients because I knew what I signed up for. So, like I said, it seemed like that was just kind of what was blessed upon me. I had when I worked in the hospital, I was a CNA, and I had patients that used to just say, "Hey, you're good at what you do. Are you going to nursing school? And I had nurses that used to tell me, hey, you should go to nursing school. And so I was like, all right. I looked into it. I was like, all right, let's do it. Jumped into it and didn't look back for a while, enjoyed it. But and then of course as I progressed, got older and then the COVID thing started happening and just wanted to do something different and change my mindset to real estate. I've always had a little entrepreneur spirit. Even before I was a nurse, I tried to open up a store selling athletic jerseys and apparel a long time ago. It's just, I've always had that spirit. It's always been in my blood. So I just want to go do something a little bit further and still continue helping people. So with that being said, I just started reading books, learning a little bit more. As we're here on the Mindset Central podcast, yeah, I had to change my mindset and shift it totally different from being a consumer to or employee. So they say to now being an entrepreneur, and when you're being an entrepreneur, you got to have faith, and you definitely got to have the right mindset because there's nobody telling you that you got to work every day, and nobody in your ear saying, "Hey, wake up, do this." And if you don't do it, you don't have a business, you don't have no income. So that's just kind of the way I ran with it, and I just learned over the years, like I said, of reading and things that yeah, it all starts with mindset, and once you get in the right space and have the right mindset, you can be unstoppable for sure. Because being an entrepreneur takes faith, takes a lot of faith, a lot of ambition, and a lot of dedication. So now I've been doing real estate going on about 5 years. I've been involved in real estate, but I've been licensed going on almost three in Missouri and Kansas, and I love it, and not looking back.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Um, you said a couple of things I wanna kind of pick at a little bit. You said that you at one point you had the desire to start a business, right? So and you were talking about what, t-shirts?
Oh yeah, t-shirts and jerseys. It was college jerseys, NFL, NBA, all authentic. I had a nice little plug there on some jerseys. Distributor from China, and
Oh wow.
man, I thought I was the man back then, and had no idea what I was doing.
And you know what I find is most successful people usually start out that way. They just kind of flail around, but until they get it. But and that's okay. I think there's something to be said about having activity instead of just sitting still waiting for it to happen, right? And that's what I wanted to ask you. So what kind of things did you do to start? So it came from an idea, right? And we'll talk about the jerseys, but this goes into even your real estate business or even into the nursing because you had a passion for it, and then you went and did it. And then when you were doing it, it just kind of expanded and grew. But talk to us about some of the things that you did with the t-shirt business coming from just a thought to what did I have to do to put it into action?
Right, right. Well, yeah, I had a good friend of mine that approached me about it. I saw he was doing it a little bit, and we kind of connected. And I'm saying, man, what are you doing? And just started asking more questions, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, I think I can do something like that. And when you come from a place where you're hungry, and it's like you want to make sure you can put food on the table. You're trying to get some more income. So at that time, like, yeah, I think I had just had my second kid, and I'm like, oh, I got another mouth to feed. I was like, so shoot, what am I gonna do? So
I need a
yeah,
side hustle.
exactly. I was like, I need a side hustle. I mean, you're absolutely right. I think I was a CNA at the time. I was in healthcare. And I was just like, man, I need a side hustle. And so that's what it was. That's what I gravitated to. And yeah, I was like, man, let me get this connection. I started sending emails out. Next thing you know, it was like, well, okay, let me get some little makeshift business cards. I think that was the very first time that I'd ever hopped on that one website where you can, what is it, Vistaprint, where you can get the business cards and stuff for cheap. So I did that
500
and
up for
started
like $10 or something like that.
like $10, $15, and I don't even remember what I called it, or I honestly I really don't. And I just was like, okay, I'm gonna just start telling all my friends and get on Facebook. And this when Facebook had just got popular. Some of my Facebook friends from that know me from a long time ago, I'm sure they probably know. And oh, I do remember when he did that. And it was like, yeah, I just hey, I got jerseys for sale. I mean, you go in the marketplace and start putting out ads saying, hey, I got jerseys for sale. And that's how I did it, just like I said. And it was all right for a while just to get extra income to put food on the table. And you are absolutely correct, from a lot of books that I've read too, that most successful people that are entrepreneurs, they, when they're successful at their business, whenever it takes off, usually it's like their fourth, fifth, sometimes seventh business that they've attempted. And a lot of people don't realize that. You're not just going to start out the gate and be successful. You're going to have to try two, three, sometimes four things. It's just like they say, when you get knocked down, you got to get back up.
Was it scary?
It was a little scary, but not much. For me, I've always been, I mean, just being honest, I've always been a people person. So it doesn't bother me to talk at all. So, and it kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, you got to talk, you got to market yourself, you got to just get out there. But yeah, obviously, it's a little scary when you first start. But when you're freelancing, doing something like that, and what I was doing, I mean, no, it wasn't scary, because it was just a side hustle, a way to get some extra income. And I even took it to the point to where I started looking at spots for lease to lease. I
Oh
said,
wow.
okay, maybe I'll get a little storefront, and that's when I started learning about lease options and learning about rent and how much people pay for these storefronts and things like that. And yeah, that's when it really started triggering as far as real estate too. It's like, man, you mean to tell me you just got this little storefront that's probably the size of a garage and you're renting it out for 800 a month or whatever the case may be. And so yeah, you just learn. But no, it wasn't really too scary. Now real estate, that's a different beast, and I'm not gonna lie, there was a little fear when I jumped into real estate, because that's a little different beast. All
So
in its
what do you mean by that? So what kind of, now I get it, like you went from side hustle to main hustle, but what was your biggest fear going into real estate?
The biggest fear going into real estate is when you're like that with any entrepreneur, there's that fear of, you know, can I do it? That fear of, success, I think is what it was, which, everybody struggles with, or fear of failure. It could be fear of failure or fear of success. But at first, obviously, it's the fear of failure.
Sure.
You're stepping out, you're stepping out on your own. You're telling everybody, hey, this is what I'm doing. And if you're that person where you're telling everybody or you're putting it on social media, people are going to try to hold you accountable. And you don't want to fail in front of your friends and family. And you don't want to look up and then 6 months or a year later, it's like, oh, Mark's doing something else. Well, I thought he was doing real estate. Didn't he try to do that? So that fear of failure, it's a big one, man. But once you get out there and hit the pavement, man, and stay focused, as long as you got the right mindset, you'll overcome that fear. And then once that fear of failure goes, then you get to the point to where you're in the middle, and that's kind of where, like I said, you get to that point to where you're fear of success. Because once you start making treadway and you start getting a little success, you want to get to that point to where you're in that abundant lifestyle. And for me, my problem was I want to make sure I take care of my customers, my clients, the best that I can. So for a while, I had that limiting belief, like I just want a few clients. I only want a few. I want to make sure I can take care of the ones I got. I want to make sure they're happy. And so then you get to that place where, yeah, you're like, well, if you're having a business, you need an abundance of clients and customers in order to grow. You can't just have two, three. So you have to have that ambition to say, hey, I'm gonna go get more clients, and I'm just gonna wing it. I'm gonna do the best that I can, and then you got to start delegating. Then you got to start hiring, and things like that while you're growing. So it's a process for sure, for sure.
So what do you think is, now we talk about the fear of success and the fear of failure. Um, there's an underlying current too, but beyond that. And when I've counseled with people, sometimes we come across something that is not as readily visible, but we've identified the fear of vulnerability. So people, they don't, if we put $1 million on the table, sure, they'll go get it. If they're afraid of failing, well, I'm doing that now. So I'm not afraid. So then what is it? What am I afraid of? And what we uncovered was there was a fear of vulnerability, because they didn't want, the more popular you become, the more visible you become, the more transparent you become, right?
Right.
Or your life becomes an open book. So people really don't want to get out there. Do you find that maybe that was something that was going on in your life at all?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. I mean, you get all that, the emotions that come with it. And yeah, definitely, because you are vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there, and like just like now being on a podcast, you're very vulnerable. So yeah, you got to get over it, and you got to get over it fast if you want to succeed. And like you said, and like this podcast, it starts with mindset. And it took me a while to get it. And as I learn and grow, mindset is everything. And now I'm also learning too as well that as you do the faith thing and the ministry thing, to where it takes a lot of faith, a lot of courage, and you're gonna have to put all that stuff together in order to be successful. A lot of hard work, a lot of drive to get to where you want to be. But if you got that faith and you got that mindset that, hey, yeah, I'm gonna be vulnerable, I'm gonna go out here, I'm going to fail, because you are going to fail. Let's just get that out there, out of the way. You're gonna fail, so fail forward. And once you get that mindset that, hey, I am gonna fail forward, then hey, sky's the limit after that. But yeah, you're definitely going to be vulnerable and a lot when it comes to being an entrepreneur, because you have to market, and anything when it comes to entrepreneur, you have to market. And 9 times out of 10, yeah, you're going to be marketing a product, but depends on what you are as that entrepreneur. That product might be you.
Right. There
So
you go.
you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to be transparent and vulnerable for sure.
So let me ask you this, because this is one of the biggest questions that I get in my business coaching, right? So people come to the table, we sit down and we start looking at how to start their businesses, pulling it from their mind, and getting it on paper. And then we start the process of going. And then we hit a wall because they're not prepared in their finances, right? And because their life has been kind of a train wreck. So talk to us a little bit about what your credit was like going into your entrepreneurial lifestyle, and whether it was good or bad, and how it helped or hindered you from taking that next step.
Oh man, woo! You had to bring up credit, didn't you? Man, yeah, like everybody else, I had a bad credit, coming up. Nobody taught me about credit. Like most of us, you got to learn on your own. Once you get them debt collectors calling and beating down your door. But yeah, when I first started out, yes, I probably had. Honestly, I don't even know what it was, but probably about a 400 or something like that. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what it was, to be honest. That number, but it was bad. And so yeah, I just sat down with my significant other and was like, hey, we got to get this straight. This is not where we want to be, and credit's gonna help us. So what I did was I just contacted some type of credit counseling company, and they put me through the ringer. I mean, I had to give them all my information. Obviously, like as they go through all your credit, all your debt collectors, and what they did was they kind of consolidated it to where I paid them a monthly fee, a lump sum,
Okay.
and they distributed it to all my creditors.
Okay. So you
Now,
went to a consolidation company.
correct. I went to a consolidation. It was like credit 1, 2, 3, something like that. It was one of them big ones.
Right.
And you know, to go out on a limb to do that, it takes faith as well, and it takes some patience. Because I did this, I believe, for about 2.5, 3 years, and that payment was about 250, if I'm not mistaken. It was like 250, 275 a month, and I paid out of my pocket. So it's like this is another bill I just created. I'm just like, wow, I got kids to feed. I just created another bill, $275 every month. And yeah, but after 2 to 3 years, all my debt was wiped out, credit score shot up. And I mean, so yes, back to, my problems was, yeah, I'm trying to find a building to lease. Nobody wants to rent to you when your credit's bad. They look at it and they're like, oh no, like you got to have your finances and your credit right. And that's what people say is, they say cash is king. I say credit is king. Cash is queen when it comes to, because when you got credit, you can get anything. And just like right now, they're giving away money dirt cheap, but you got to have the credit to get it. And yeah, I struggle just like everybody else with credit when it comes to that. And you just got to get on board and do what you got to do to take care of it and trust the process. You trust the process. I trusted it for 2.5, 3 years, and it worked. Got me to where I needed to be.
So let's talk about that for a second. So in the real estate environment, if I want to buy a house, what does my credit need to look like? What are the mortgage lenders looking for? What are real estate agents going to be able to work with? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, right now, the basic credit score that they're looking for, everybody's looking for the 620. They want you to have fair credit. Fair is really about 580. And I have like 2 lenders that can get you approved at 580, but that's the bare minimum. Obviously, your interest rate's going to be a little higher with that 580, but you can get into a home. You're just going to pay a little bit more with your interest rate over the long term of that loan. But if you got a 620 or a 640, and that's where you get all the extra perks. That's where you get the the down payment assistance. Closing costs can get paid for in some instances. So anything above 640, you're good to go.
So at
And
640, I can get down payment assistance.
Down payment assistance,
Wow.
and sometimes closing costs paid as well.
Now, is that across the board or just in Kansas City or in Kansas and Missouri?
Every state's different, but they all, for the most part, do have those programs. But yes, the Missouri, there's one's called the MHDC loan. In Kansas, it's called the KHDC. They're pretty similar, but they're they're the same thing, pretty much saying, you got that 640 and up, we'll go ahead and give you some down payment assistance. And there's mortgage companies have a different, some of them have different approaches to what they might offer. But for the most part, yes, you're going to definitely get some down payment assistance, and like I said, you might be able to get the closing costs paid for as well, as long as you qualify for it. They do have income limits, but for the most part, first time home buyer, you're not even going to be touching those limits. Most of those limits are for people that actually got a very good income. So
that's dope. Okay.
yeah,
I know they do have it here in Texas, so I think it's pretty common to have something like that across the country. But again, check with your mortgage broker, check with your real estate agent to find out in your state whether or not these types of programs are available.
yes.
Definitely a good thing for you to write down and check out if you're wanting to, if you're interested in purchasing a home. So
Sure.
580 is going to get me like what kind of interest rate would you see with somebody at a 580?
With a 580, you might be right now. You might be looking at about a 5% interest rate, which exactly, it's like 4 or 5 years ago, you were getting, I don't even know, I think it was like a 5.5, I think, interest rate. And that was good at the time 5 years ago. Now, 5 is decent. Don't get me wrong, but there's people that are getting low twos, and threes.
Right.
But no, you'll probably get a good 5.5, maybe 6 interest rate, depending on who your lender is, which is still good right now. It's still good. Obviously it's not the best, but it's still pretty darn good.
So if I was if I had a 640 or better, well, better is better. But if I had let's say 640, I walked in, I get all the bells and whistles, all the perks. I know we can't lock in what an interest rate would be, but give us an idea of what an interest rate might look like at a 640.
640, you're going to be, let me see, you're going to be looking at that's like I said, the cream of the crop. So honestly, I can pull it up right here and tell you right now from a lender, you're going to be looking at 3%, maybe 2.9. They've even got a 15-year fixed at 2.5%.
Wow.
And that's a 15-year fix. You can get a 15-year 2.6. So these rates, right now, like I said, that's everybody in the real estate world, they say this is almost free money.
So
It's the lowest that our governments have ever had these interest rates. And so obviously that's why everybody's telling everybody that it's a good time to buy.
So how much, I just want to put this on a number. So like if I had a 5% loan and then I had another guy who had a 2.9%, let's just say 3% loan.
Right.
What's the difference in cash over the term?
That's a very big difference. In the real estate world, that 1% could be, you know, 30 grand over the life of that loan. So I mean, let alone when you're going from 5% to like a 2.5 over the long term of that loan. Say you buy a $200,000 house. I mean, yeah, you obviously you're gonna overpay. So say you pay 300,000 for it by the time it's all said and done, give or take. Shoot, when you got that difference of 2%, that might knock it down by a good chunk, good 40 to 60 grand over the length of that loan, over the length of that loan. So it all depends on, like I said, it all depends on your interest rate, things like that. But especially when in our market, when you can get a property for 125, 150,000, and like I said, you get a say you even had a 3.5 interest rate. I got this scenario here: 125 $1,000 property, 3.5 interest rate. Say you did have the down payment and closing costs, you probably would pay like $1,000 out of pocket. All you're gonna pay for is your inspection and your appraisal, because that it's gonna come be like 7,800. You know that 3.5% is about $7,800, right? Well, that $7,800 is gonna be down payment and closing costs. So if you got that paid, you can walk in a little of the door with a little bit of 800 to a grand.
Wow.
So just to throw some numbers out there, in our market. Obviously in Texas, it's a little different. And then obviously here that
Everything in New York State.
125, right, right. And obviously that 125 is on the low end. But just to throw some numbers out there for people to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you
You
can
know
get
what?
to a home of about $1,500.
Yeah, I mean, but what I really want to do is just give people the idea. Number one,
Yep. Yep.
you can buy a house. You can buy a house. You are not down and out, right? And if your credit is like at a 420, okay, let's talk. You're right, because there's some things that you can do to lift your credit score, right? And
Right.
of course, we won't go into it here, but Shiloh's got the Credit Healing Secrets group. If you're not in that group, you need to get in it. I'm telling you, everything that's in there is going to be able to help you repair
Get
your
in the group, folks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you need other help, raise your hand. We can help you with that. But here's the key. If you get help with your credit and you get it to a place where you can get it to a 640, you're saving, like, we're using arbitrary numbers, but you can save upwards to $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 over the life of the term of a loan. Now, and you might have to pay $1,000 to get your credit repaired, but look at what you save on the back end.
Yes.
People, we hear it all the time. People, okay, here we got a comment here. Shiloh's saying, go to the credit tips in Credit Healing Secrets. So on the back end, you're saving more money than you pay up front, right? Obviously, to get your credit repaired. But if you just going from a 580 to a 640, think what happens if you go from a 640 to a 700 or
To a 700.
right. So now you're playing on the field with bigger boys. And not only that, but listen, credit is used for a lot of different things. Most times people use it to eat, right? They use the seed and they eat the seed. But if you learn to use the credit as something that you can as an investment, back in the 80s, Carlton Sheets, he coined this phrase of OPM. You remember Carlton Sheets?
Carlton Sheets. I've heard that. Yes. I've heard of them. Yeah.
He coined this phrase of other people's money, right? So he's like, buy a house with other people's money, and so that seemed like a foreign concept. But if you have a credit card, that's other people's money, and so learning how to use credit to build wealth is definitely a key. So have you utilized credit to build wealth in your environment? If so, what kind of things have you done?
Yeah, and that's what I try to tell everybody too is a lot of people look at their first home as it's a liability. Yeah, it can be a liability, depending on how you look at it. So I try to tell people anytime my first time home buyer, I'm like, look at this as an asset and you should use it as an asset. To where, like you said, when you get credit, say when we first bought our first home, we had like a 5.7 interest rate. Well, we just refinanced our home. So we go refinance now with these lovely interest rates. I'm gonna give you a real world example to where now, we get into an interest rate to where say it's 2.5, like I was just speaking of. Now you can pull cash out of the home, and pull that equity out that you have. You can take that cash, go purchase another asset with it. And there's a lot of investors that do that daily, and that's what I do in my business. Is I help investors. They buy property, they take this money. It's all a loan, like you said, other people's money. They'll go get a hard money loan. To give you another example, they'll go buy this property, say for $50,000 cash. They'll put $30,000 cash into it, rehabbing it, which is of course from the loan. It's not their own money. So now it's $70,000 that they done borrowed. They take that, fix the house up. They put a tenant in there. After the seasoning period, give or take, they appraise it, and then they pull all that cash back out and they go do it again. And then don't let me misspeak. Not all of the cash, but you can get 75 to 80% of loan to value. You pull that cash back out, and then you can go do it again. So what happens is once they take that 50 and buy the house, say they put that 30 in there, now the home is appraised for say 150, and so now you have that equity in between. So they just take that equity, they go back to a bank, say, hey, I want to reappraise this for a 30-year note. They do a 30-year note at like 3%, 2.5%, and which obviously that's going to lower the debt, or lower the payment on that debt. And then they just taking that cash out, 75 to 80%. So say, they're taking out about 40 grand, 40, 50 grand that they're just taking out, and they're just going to go pay off the loan, take what money's left, and they use that to go buy another property. And that's what people are doing. And it's just called leveraging credit. So yes, you can do it in your personal home, to where you can get a home line of equity of credit. People can use, people use it for remodels, things like that. You can do that, but I personally recommend, if you're going to do that, take it and buy another asset. Because you buy another asset, then it's going to be making money for you, as opposed to you just say you remodeled your basement and you might get 10 grand back of equity or whatnot on there, but it's not going to make you any money. But if you go buy a rental property, even if it's a small 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and it can get $200-300 of cash flow in your pocket every month. So say, which would you want?
Now that would be on like a long-term rental, right?
Yeah, it'd be a long-term rental. Yep. So what they do is they'll put it on a 30-year note or a 15-year note, and you keep that property, and you rent it out. And the beautiful thing, what people don't realize, is you get principal reduction too when this tenant is paying for this property. So you're getting tax savings, you're getting the principal reduction, you're getting the cash flow before tax, and then there's that one that I just spoke of, which is the icing on the cake. You get appreciation. If you buy right, you're going to get appreciation. I got a deal right now that we're about to close actually next week. This guy bought this property, I think about 20 years ago, right? Fixed it up, nothing major, just fixed it up. I think he bought it for maybe like 50, 60 grand, dirt cheap. Put some tenants in there. They've been staying in that property. I mean, he's probably flipped it, I don't know, 3-4 times with different tenants here and there over the years. Well, long story short, they had a fire, I guess, not too long ago. He went and refinanced that building, luckily for him, before the fire occurred. So he refinanced it, made his note even cheaper, and, pretty much was just using the bank as leverage. So they had the fire. He went, also got that payment for the insurance, redid the whole half of the house. Now he just sold that house, and he's about to clear 100 grand on this property.
Wow.
So he rented this property out for like 25 years. So he was getting cash flow for 25 years on this property, which means the tenants pretty much bought this property for him. And then now he's selling it on the back end, and he's going to make 100 grand on top of it too. Tell me who doesn't want to do that?
Well, I want to do that right now.
You know what I mean? So it's like these deals that I'm seeing. Yeah, he's like, sign me up right now.
So let's talk to a couple of people that may not understand kind of like the lingo that we're talking. You made a couple of statements like principal reduction and cash flow and things like that. Is there a way for us to simplify those statements and kind of give somebody might be interested in real estate, but they really don't understand what you just said? So right. Can you run the simplified version for us?
Sometimes I do that, and I apologize.
No, it's okay.
I got to get it myself, and it took me a while to understand it, and sometimes I still don't understand some of these terms. So, no,
Right.
seriously, so I get it. The principal reduction is pretty much the principal and interest is what you pay on that loan. So, say your mortgage payment is $1,200. The bulk of that, I mean, you're going to be paying a lot of interest, right? And usually you pay interest up front, so you're paying interest probably for the first 5 to 8 years you own that home. A lot of people don't know that. But you pay the interest first before you can get to the principal. The principal is pretty much the purchase price of the property. Pretty much, okay, this is how much you owe for this property. And then your loan is that's the interest that's extra. So when you have that, you get principal reduction every time you make a payment. So every time that mortgage is paid, you're going to get what they call.
Uh-oh, technical difficulties. You're
I'm getting a phone call here.
oh, there you go.
Is
He's
that
back.
better? Yeah, I was getting a phone call. So
Okay.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you. Welcome back.
Got me. Okay. So what it is it's just it's like I said, back to the principal reduction. It just gets crazy to where when you realize that there's a tenant that can pay that for you as opposed to you paying it. So that's what I was speaking of. And then the cash flow is the difference. So say you're paying your mortgage and it's $1,200, but you're renting it out for $1,500. That difference is the cash flow that you would get. So that's the cash flow that I'm speaking of in that terms. That would be the cash flow that you put in your pocket every month.
So you mean to tell me that every month the tenant pays $1,500, they're paying my house note, and they're also putting money in my pocket?
Putting money in your pocket. Yep.
So if somebody wanted to do that, what would be the first thing that you would advise them to do?
Keep calling me. I guess when you're busy, you get busy.
You cut off again. Nope, not yet.
All right.
There we go.
There we go. So, yeah, you can get into it. So what sometimes people start out, they'll do it by, say they buy their own personal residence. Now they got the VRBO and all that stuff where you can rent
What's
out
that?
your own personal room. It's like vacation rental or Airbnb.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
To where now people are renting out rooms now, to where you can have a home in the basement, you can rent it out. That's the easy way to do it. But the easier way and the way I tell everybody to do it is to buy a duplex. Um,
Okay.
buy your little small multifamily. You live in one side, rent out the other side. And so, say you're gonna, back to another example that I was using earlier. Say it's 125. Say you get a duplex and it's 150. And say that just like we were using, say the mortgage on that property is 1,200, but say it cost, the rent is 1,200 per side, right? So your mortgage is going to be paid for by the tenant next door who's paying $1,200. So you're pretty much staying there rent free, right? Just apples, apples, oranges, oranges. If they're paying $1,200, your mortgage is only $1,200. You're staying there rent free. So you only have to stay there for a year. You stay there for a year, 12 to 18 months. Then you move out, and then you go ahead and buy that other, single family home that you really want, and then you're going to get cash flow from both sides of that property now. So now instead of just getting 1,200 from the one side, now you're going to get 1,200 from both sides, and so you're looking at $2,400 that you're getting in there, and your mortgage is only $1,200. So you're getting $1,200 in your pocket, give or take, minus expenses and things like that.
So that kind of excites me a little bit. So you mean I can get a duplex? I can live on one side and put a family or somebody on the other side. My mortgage is $1,200 a month, my P&I, right? And then I charge them $1,500 because I need some cash flow. So they pay $1,500 a month to stay in this 2-3 bedroom side of the duplex, which in some cases probably is reasonable.
Right.
And then all I got to pay is gas, lights, and water on my side.
That's it.
Oh wait,
gas and lights and water on your side.
If they're paying me $300 a month cash flow, then that balances that out as well.
Balances it out as well. You're taking that, and that's why I say you're living rent free. What they call it now is they call it house hacking, is what they call it.
Oh, okay.
But that's what I recommend to anybody who does not own real estate and they're wanting to get into investing or some type of home ownership and they're wanting to, be smart about it and maybe save or maybe even make a little money. That is the easiest way to do it. That's what I recommend for everybody. But honestly, if not, obviously, yes, you could just go get a conventional loan or something like that and just buy a little small single family home and just rent it out.
Say get a tenant, not a roommate.
Yeah, just get you a tenant, not a roommate. Because yeah, most people don't want a roommate. Most people don't want to be renting out their basements,
Right.
things like that. People do, but they're risky. So no, the safer bet is yeah, you just go ahead and you can get your little conventional loan, get your credit right, go talk to a mortgage broker or a lender and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying an investment property. What are my options? Get with somebody like Shayla or yourself, get your credit right, and the doors is open for you. That's what I just try to tell everybody. But like we're here on Mindset Central, it starts with your mindset. It really does to where, like you said, when you're going to be an entrepreneur, you got to have the right mindset. When you're trying to invest, even if you're not trying to be an entrepreneur, you're just trying to invest and just save a little money, you still have to have the right mindset because I was talking to somebody the other day and this guy's got all this money sitting in the bank and he's trying to convince his wife to let him buy a rental property. And the first thing she says is, well, we got this money and it's saved, it's sitting in the bank. But if we buy a property, what's the maintenance going to be on that? And it's like, okay, I get it. That's definitely a valid question to ask. But it's her mindset. Her husband's mindset's like, hey, I'm about to invest this money because I know it's sitting in the bank and it's not making me any money. I mean, what, 0.1% a return that you're getting on that money that's sitting in the bank? You're actually losing money by having money sitting in a savings account right now. So why not take that money and put it into an investment to where it's going to start bringing income in? It's a win-win. But if you're not in the right mindset, you will not never understand that, and you just don't see it. So yeah, you got to be in the right mindset.
Now I've heard it say that real estate is about an 8 to 10% on average ROI or return on investment. Is that pretty accurate
That's
in your?
pretty accurate. Yeah, I usually say 7 to 12, a little bit bigger number, but yeah, 8 to 10. You're absolutely right. And what I love about real estate is it's controllable. You put that money in the bank, you can't control that. And obviously, as soon as you put that money in the bank, they're loaning it out, spending. They're giving it to somebody else anyway. I mean, that's how these banks are making money is they're just lending your stuff.
Right. They
So
take your money and make
yeah,
18% on
and make the 18 to 20% off of your money.
it. Right.
Exactly. So why not be smart about it? Things that they don't teach us. No, take your money and go put it into an investment and start, accumulating some wealth for yourself. And so that's what I just try to preach and teach. And I try to inspire everybody I come across and try to let them know this beautiful thing in real estate. And like I said, how it's controllable is it's controllable because you can go a force appreciation. You can go buy a property and put some money into it or put some sweat equity into it and make that home nicer to where you can get more equity on it. So it's controllable. You can sell it, you can flip. I mean, there's things you can do with it. So why not?
So I got a couple of more questions, and we're getting down to the top of the hour. You mentioned earlier about reading books, and I'm a huge book reader. Shiloh will tell you, and she'll fuss at me for. Did you buy another book? I love reading. You should see right by my reading table. There is a
I
stack.
see him behind you. I see some behind you.
Oh yeah. That's that. And I've read every one of those books. No sweat. I've got them all over my desk. I've got them everywhere.
I got them everywhere too.
I love to read. And hey, if you don't read, that's okay. But listen, if you want to hide anything from anybody, put it in a book.
Put it in a book.
That's right.
Put it in a book. You're absolutely right.
So what books do you recommend if somebody wants to get started in the entrepreneurial journey of getting into real estate or even just getting into entrepreneurship period? What kind of books spoke to you?
Obviously, if anybody's ever listened to anybody on a podcast in real estate, they always say Robert Kiyosaki's book. Obviously, Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was one book that got me going as well. Total mind shift when you read that book. Look it up. You can go listen to it on YouTube. Whatever you got to do, find that Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's an awesome book. Look and talk about reading. I got books. I got books too, like you said. This one right here, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller. Awesome book. I got a couple of his. Actually, Gary Keller started by, like you said earlier, listening to Carlton Sheets. That's how he started. There's a couple books by Brandon Turner as well from Bigger Pockets, which he's got one. It's called Real Estate Investing Made Easy with No Money Down. So with Brandon Turner, you can get that book. You got Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill. That's an awesome book. I got a few of these books over here on my bookshelf. And yeah, start reading, folks. If you don't, it took me a while to start reading. But like I said, when it gets to your mindset, reading is one of those things too, that if you pick up a book and start reading, it's going to affect your mind and it'll help you change your mindset as well. But those are the three books, that I recommend. Anybody just thinking about real estate wants to get started, go ahead and pick it up. You can go to Bigger Pockets or Amazon, and you can get any of these books right now. So yeah, Brandon Turner, David Green's got a couple books. Any book with Gary Keller, and like I said, Robert Kiyosaki.
That's good. That's good. And by the way, folks, we're not getting paid for any of these plugs. So
nope. You're just getting these gems for free. Now,
when I get smarter, I'll put, hey, around this video, go ahead and click the link. But he's talking about real estate investing, investing no money down from Brandon Turner. This is his book. Yep. I've got about 8 or 10 of his books, or how many ever he's got. I tried to buy everything that had his name on it. He's an incredible writer, very down to earth guy. He's got another one. Man. You mentioned house hacking. He actually has a book on house hacking.
He's got a book on house hacking. Yep.
This book has been around since like 1985. If you haven't read it, shame on you. It is one of those books that I promise you will change your life.
And it's not a real estate book, folks.
It's really not.
And he will even tell you that. He's like, it's not a real estate book. Somehow it just gravitated to real estate. But no, it's not even a real estate book. But yes, it will change your mind. Yeah,
at one point, Robert Kiyosaki, I was listening to an interview. He had over 7,000 properties. And so at that point, it's more of a business. And he says, I don't have any of my own personal money in any of these properties. So if you want to know, really, this is a book on investing in yourself. And so take a read. If you're not a reader, go to Audible and use one of your credits. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is an amazing book. And there's a whole thinker tribe that came out of that, and that genre, that environment, and during the early 1900s. And so pick up some of those books, because these guys are serious and these gals are talking about just shifting the way that you think with regard to how you live. And you can do it, right? You can do it, because guess what? You're good and you're worthy, and you should have the opportunity to go do the things that you want to do in life. So I'm completely grateful for you being with us today. I do want, before we get out of here, I wanted to kind of put a plug in for you, right? So you mentioned working with entrepreneurs before, working with investors before. If somebody wanted to work with Marc Edwards, what do they need to do? What kind of things do you offer? Let me say that so that they understand the assignment. No, let me start singing that song. No, I'm kidding.
Understood the assignment. Okay. Yeah. No, honestly, the first thing to do, and I recommend it for anybody if they're interested in real estate, is just reach out to a broker or a realtor of your choice. If it's not me, reach out and just start asking questions. But yeah, I say take the first step, pick up the phone, call me, shoot me a message. We can always chat. I'm on all social media platforms. You should be able to get a hold of me. But yeah, Mark the KC Realtor Edwards. So that's the KC Realtor, by the way. Look me up. I'm everywhere. But yeah, just start the conversation, pick my brain. I do offer investor, consultation, investor services, as far as, buying, selling, flipping, any of that good stuff. We are also offering property management starting January 3rd. So the new year, we'll be doing the property management as well to help my investors stay home and stay happy. So look out for that too as well. Just anything I can do to help my clients, that's what I'm here for. So
So if I'm out
that's
of
pretty much
state,
what I'm doing.
let's say I live in Houston, Texas, and I wanted to buy a house as an investor, but I've never done it before. Can I call you and say, this is what I want to do, and you can help me through the entire process up to and including once the closing is done, help me with property management, putting somebody in the property and managing that property for me?
Correct. I can help you with all that. Pretty much that's what we're trying to be. We're just trying to be a one-stop shop with Supernova Homes KC. Look us up. But yeah, actually, I've helped a couple, two from California. I've helped a couple from New York. I've helped actually one from Texas as well. And I actually got one that I'm helping right now from Arizona. He's doing the same thing. So yes, it is doable, folks. You just got to have a little faith, and you got to have somebody you can trust, and good communication. But no, it is definitely doable long distance. Just got to reach out and got to have a little faith.
So listen, if you want to get into real estate investment and you want a turnkey type thing, say I really want to do it, because 10%, folks, I don't know if you've ever played the stock market, but 10% is not what you're getting back, right? So it's really unheard of. So what I'm going to recommend is, if you ever want a good investment, I'm going to recommend that you take a look at real estate investment, right? So if Mark and his team are offering a turnkey operation, that means he'll help you with the house. Once you get the house, you won't have to go in there and swing a hammer. He's going to help you with everything, getting it to where it needs to be, and then putting a tenant in there and managing the property for you. Wow. So basically,
Win-win.
Yeah, it's turnkey. So all you got to do is pony up the investment, which, oh, by the way, he can help you get in touch with people that are willing to give out money. So if you want to do it, then step over the mindset that's saying that you can't. Reach out to Mark, get in touch with him, and see what can get done. And I
Absolutely. When you reach out to me, I give everybody a vendor list of, some people that I work with that can get the ball rolling. So you can start, picking up the phone and asking questions. And I just try to be that resource for you guys. And, as you know, when people are traveling across the country and investing in real estate, it can be tedious. So you got to have somebody you can trust. And I got somebody else that's flying in here actually in 2 weeks. To have the same conversation as they're ready to get the ball rolling and get it going. So, nope, don't hesitate. It's all about the mindset. Get it going, folks, and I'll do the best I can by you.
Well, we're so grateful to have you on Mindset Central today. Mark, is there anything that you want to say to the people? Put in a plug, give your brand again, all that stuff. How do they get in contact with you before we take off?
Hey, honestly, like I said, I just want to say I appreciate you having me on the forum. And Mindset Central, this podcast is going to be super dope, super awesome, as I know it's going to be. So keep timing in every time. Chime in, all right? And it's all about mindset. You got to get it going. Once you get your mindset 100%, everything else is going to be 100%, folks, and it's just going to start taking off, and you're going to be like, wow. Believe me, just trust the process. But yeah, no, you can go ahead and you can go to my website, buysellwithmark.com. Look me up. Like I said, I'm a realtor investor here with Remax in Kansas City. Look me up, Mark the KC Realtor. All right. I'll be glad to help and have any conversation with you guys about real estate anytime.
Perfect. Well, on the screen, Shiloh, thank you for putting that in the comments. Marc Edwards at Mark the KC Realtor. He's the man.
You got it.
So we have, just as a point of reference, we have a lot of realtor friends, and so and we love them all. So
yeah.
But right now we're focused on Mark. So if y'all want a shot at the seat, then come on, get in it. We'll talk more about real estate. But I hope that everybody got something from the conversation today. If you have other questions, don't feel like you have to reserve them only for the time of the show. Go ahead and DM us, or go ahead and ask your questions in the comments below of whatever the platform is that you're watching this video, and we'll do our best to get back with you as quickly as possible, because we want to help you. We want to make sure that you get exactly what you need. So until next time,
just here to help.
That's right. Until next time, my name's Greg Healey, and this is Mindset Central. Take care.